Welcome to Touring the AFC South. I should say, welcome back to Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton, and I don't always go by the beat of everyone else's drum on my show. I normally talk about the AFC South, but I thought today's guest was too important to be leaving it in the AFC South. My guest tonight is one of the standouts in terms of the Syracuse 8, and I wanted to bring him on to talk about that. Mr. John Lobon. How you doing, man?
Mike, how you doing?
I am doing great. I'm doing great. And, for those that aren't aware, just to kind of give everyone lead them up to the Syracuse 8, you grew up in Hartford, Connecticut. And
Right.
What was it like growing up there in Hartford, Connecticut? I did read a little bit about you in terms of grew up in housing projects in Hartford, Connecticut.
Right. I'm a native of Hartford, born and raised, and my youthful years, I grew up in a housing project. It was like 500 units, known as Bellevue Square, and I spent I would say a good portion of my youthful years there, and then uh, when I went to junior high. We moved out of the projects, and with that, I started uh, my. Then I went to high school, but in my youthful days, I started playing midget football when I was about 10, which is probably the normal age for kids to play, and that was the training ground. To find out whether or not you want to play the game or not, and I fell in love with the game. And truthfully, I always believe this that anyone that plays the game has to love the game because it's to like I always say to practice 5 days a week for one day of glory. That's not like any other sport. That you got to put in that time and effort to get prepared and not only mentally but physically as well. So I was able to, in my midget days, I thought I tried to determine what positions I wanted to play. So I did try the running back one time, and didn't like that. People hit you doing that. So I decided I became a lineman, and I played guard as a midget player, and then when I left that junior high and went on to high school, my one of my high school coaches, I also have a twin brother who has
Okay.
since been deceased, but we both went in, and the coach made the comment that one of you gonna be a center. He wanted one of us to be a center. I said, I'll take it. It was a lineman. And it wound up my brother was a running back and he was a fullback. So that started me out in high school. And then I knew this is where I was going to focus. And, I put in the work.
Right. Right. It sounds like definitely you were just reading about you. You definitely fell in love at the age of 10 with football, and you definitely have to love the game to
Yes.
practice and definitely play one game. I played all the way through college, so I
Okay.
definitely
You know what I'm
understand.
talking about.
Yes, sir. I definitely understand.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask, you know, how was it? I read about the visit to Syracuse and things like that, and you thinking that it was a one way, and you got there and it was another. So, how was it like when you just first got to Syracuse as a freshman on campus?
Well, what it was the nostalgia about it. Going to Cuse, and following in the footsteps of a Jim Brown, a Ernie Davis, and even a Floyd Little. Were the name players that were recognized by pretty much everybody. Uh, but Jim Brown was the one I was in love with. Love with Cleveland Browns, and Jim. So it turned out to be one of those things that I could follow in his footsteps. So being 18 years old and not having and being somewhat reclusive in a sense of in a small town. I didn't go a whole lot of places, other than New York City, Massachusetts, something like that. But I wasn't a traveler per se. So when I got the invite to attend Syracuse, that was something I wasn't expecting at all, really, because I thought that the combination of the elitist aspect of it, and then coming from a small town, would somebody spot who I am? Not like today, you got all kind of media and programs and resources to find out. But uh, so when I got to Syracuse, well, let me back up for a second. When I made the visit to see whether or not that's where I wanted to go, I had just come back from the University of Colorado on a visit, and I fell in love with that right off the bat. It's a beautiful country out there. So, so when I got back, it was around this time of year. They bring recruits in to visit the campus. So I wound up going up there, and at that time, I met someone who would eventually become my roommate, and we made a pledge that we would come if each other decided we would come. We both would go. We decided to do that. When I got to Syracuse, you had the feeling that it was in the city of Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
That you would assume that there may have been a lot more of us on campus, but in reality, that wasn't true because it was only like I think it was 150 black students on campus out of 6,000.
Wow.
So, but the ironic part was I didn't, you don't really get an opportunity to explore playing football, get up in the morning, go to classes. After class, you go to practice. After practice, you go study. After you study, you go to bed. So, you didn't really have any time to deal with the campus environment because of the mere fact you didn't have that chance to socialize because, football was a job. And so
Right.
I didn't really get a chance to, explore the campus or campus environment until after football season. And then, you could finally see what the environment was. And the environment was, somewhat restricted, not restricted, but you only had certain places you could go where you could feel comfortable. And what wound up happening for me and my roommate, because we also had to introduce ourselves to the freshman class of the black student that was there. So we did socialize, but if you look at it, the university wasn't prepared for the influx of the black students that they had at that point, because we didn't really have any, what I would say, accommodations in relationship to where we could participate, have fun. So part of our work was to make that happen, where the university gave us a cottage where we could hang out at. The facilities other than that wasn't conducive to us. And then eventually we also, they gave us one of the buildings for a cultural center, which gave us a larger place to participate and enjoy each other's company. And but you realize that campus wide, we were secluded on the campus. So where was our outlet? It was in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's ironic, the actual part, if you look at, I call it, the university was somewhat surrounded by, if you want, the hood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then in order to get through the hood, that's how you get downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, so we have black folks right there in the university community. But at that point in time, they weren't allowed on campus.
Wow.
Okay, so that was a fight that we had to get involved with, because we felt that wasn't proper. That you couldn't, I mean, they're right there,
Mm-hmm.
and almost basically couldn't walk across the campus.
Wow.
And so it was, you got to remember, we're in that heavy flip time in relationship to civil rights and somewhat of some equality, but there was injustice there as well.
Gotcha. So this is right around the end of the 1960s, going right into 1970, correct?
Right. Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. All
Yep.
right.
I got there in 68.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So, of course, all these different things going on around you, all these injustices that you're seeing, and then the injustices that you're experiencing with the lack of medical care, the classes and things like that. That's that I would say probably led up to the stand that you took against the university, correct?
Yeah, it was, like you're saying, it was a combination of things. Not only the environment on the campus itself, but what was done within the athletic department as it relates to participation. And then with that, what we saw was, the best wasn't playing.
Mm-hmm.
You can fight with anybody about that, and people have different opinions on that. But based on how I see it, the best players wasn't being played, and so that added to some of the frustration, because I came there to play football. I didn't come there for the politics of it,
Right.
and so there were politics in this, and so with that. With the poor medical treatment that we received as well. It was accumulation of things. Playing time based on your merit, and not who you knew or what you knew or who knew who. It was more of a thing that it was an uphill battle every day, because understanding that we always have to perform a step above. That that was one of the criteria of I have to prove myself each and every day as it relates to who I am and my abilities to play this game.
Right, and definitely that had to be frustrating to know that you're playing your best and you're better than the person out there, but because of the color of your skin, that you were sitting on the sideline because and then like I read there were road games that a certain amount of black players or no black players would probably be able to go because of traveling. Is that correct?
Well, let me give it to you in another fashion, but what you're saying is actually correct. Unbeknownst to us, okay, there was what they call a Twofer Rule. The Twofer Rule was you couldn't have any more than 2 black ball players on the field or even on the basketball court at any given time. 2, not 3. Okay. And Jim Brown can verify this. You can talk to him. He can, that's how we found out about it. Okay. That was the hidden rule. Matter of fact, Jim Brown quit playing basketball because of that rule. Because he played basketball as well. A lot of people don't know that. He was a basketball player. lacrosse is, he was the king of lacrosse. He was the GOAT, let me put it like that, in lacrosse. And then, he was, a football star that, he didn't have it easy as well, because he ran into those, I want to call issues of who you are and are you obedient.
Mm-hmm.
And that, that's the crawl, is that, we had to take a lot of verbal discomfort relative to be calling a boy, and with our hair getting, they didn't. We were, those days we were wearing afros.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that didn't fit their criteria, because they call it fizz.
Mm-hmm.
So it was more of a thing that we had to be indoctrined to the system. Not come in there with who we are or what we are, but to come in and be the fall in line.
Gotcha.
And I think what would happen, especially with me and my roommate Greg, we wasn't conducive to doing that. I'm here as long as, I always say we have two contracts. You have a contract to get me an education, and I have a contract to participate in football.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I said, if you look at it based on today's environment, I was an employee, because I was raising money for that university by going out there and participating in the game that they derive revenues from.
Mm-hmm.
So, we needed to take care of each other, but I saw it as, me trying to fulfill what I needed to do in order to be eligible to play, but also that, they needed to assure that I had the environment that it was conducive to that. But my freshman year gave me an insight of what was to come, and it came. And I remember, when we got there, me and Greg got there, they have a thing they do, and after during a day of practice, after the freshmen, you go into the dining hall and you got to do that. They got you standing on a table, and you got to answer to the other ball players.
Mm-hmm.
So and I will never forget it, because I thought it was, as we talked about it over the years with my roommate, we came to the conclusion that they wanted us to perform a vaudeville act, because the first thing they asked us to sing our school song. And so I politely said, I don't know it. And so they asked Greg the same thing, and he replied the same way. So they asked me to dance. So I told them I can't dance either. So now you're hearing the rumblings out there. Oh, these guys think they tough. We got to take care of them. Okay. And then the final one was they wanted me to hold Greg's hand. Yeah. Oh, let me tell you. Okay. So I'm not going to hold his hand. So after that, we got the rolling eyes and the murmurs and stuff as well. So in order to teach me, they're going to teach me a lesson. Okay. The next day in practice, they bring an All-American tackle from varsity to go against me on the one-on-one blocking and tackling and running back. So I assume he was there to teach me a lesson, because he was varsity. I'm a freshman. And when he came over, we ran the play. We ran it 3 times. Normally you do it 2 times. We ran it 3 times, because the first 2 times he never touched the running back.
Mm-hmm.
Third time he touched him, he tackled him. It was 5 yards down. So I guess what got me in trouble was the coach told the player to go back over to the varsity. So I made the comment. I said, "That's an All-American." And then everybody said, "Yeah, Ray's an All-American." I said, "Okay." if he All-American, I know I'm going to be an All-American. The coach heard that, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I meant it for him to hear it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, so that was my indoctrination into, football at Syracuse. But I proved, and every time I was put in a position, I came out on top.
Right.
So,
right.
So I wasn't going to be subservient to them. As I said, I came here to play football. I didn't come here for the politics. So
right.
that was the beginning of my journey. Now, to step back, my freshman year, I was recruited as a defensive player.
Mm-hmm.
When I got there, the center that they had recruited was I was like 220 at that point in time as a center. And the other guy was a 230. But he was only 5'7".
Mm-hmm.
Quarterback was 6'3". So they said to me, John, can you play center? Excuse me. I said, I thought I was recruited for defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we got this problem. Then I said, well, okay, it's your dime. I'll play wherever you want me to play. So I played center for the freshman team. So I assumed that was going to be the position that I was going to play for Syracuse. Well, when we went, we were undefeated. We were 5-0. So
mm-hmm.
we had a good season. So they make predicaments, how everybody comes up, who's going to be starting from the freshman team on the varsity. So Joe Ehrman, who was one of our teammates who eventually played for the Baltimore Colts, he was a tackle. And they made the assumption that I would be the starting varsity center. Because
mm-hmm.
the varsity center they had, he was going into his senior year. He was probably maybe 5'9", somewhere in that area, about 185.
Mm-hmm.
At that point in time, I'm on my way to almost 230. So they decide my sophomore year, they're going to put me back on defense. I played middle linebacker and center in high school. But everybody knew if I didn't play center, I should be playing middle linebacker. Because
right.
in my freshman year, we scrimmaged the varsity one day.
Mm-hmm.
And one day they let me play defense. And I played defense, they let me play middle linebacker. And we were scrimmaging the varsity, and one of the Syracuse 8 players, alias Al Newton, now Alif Muhammad, he was a fullback. So he got the ball. Mike, I hit him so hard that the noise echoed throughout the field. You heard a big crack. Everybody stopped to see what happened. And what happened was I hit him so hard that my helmet, right here, it came
right.
down, it broke the skin on my nose.
Wow.
Okay. So I was bleeding at that point. And what happened was one of my teammates said to me, John, your nose is bleeding. And we had a good freshman class. We actually had a reunion at one time, the freshman
mm-hmm.
class. And Carl Lombardo was the guy. He got up and said, let me tell you, and they called it the defining moment of the freshman team. And he described that play when I hit Al and turned to the huddle. And he said, I said to John, your nose is bleeding. So he said, all John did was put his hand in his helmet, wipe the blood off, and call the next defensive set. And he said, all of a sudden I wondered, what am I doing out here? Okay. So not knowing that Schwarzwaller likes, if it's a fluke, he called the play again.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know this. So they called the play again. Got the same results. Caught him in the hole, but this time I didn't take him down, just grabbed him, picked him up, walked him back, stood him up, and hit him on his can. And he said, good play. I said, I'm just here to play football. And He went back, and I didn't find out this till recently, that he said when he went back to the huddle, Swartzwelder coach said to him, "You let a freshman hit you like that?" And Ali replied, he said, "He can play."
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But that's the last time I played middle linebacker.
Oh, goodness. Wow.
Okay. So when it, like I said, so I had made who I am my freshman year, and I was blocking for my roommate because he was a running back. So I always made sure he had protection. And so, so then we go into our sophomore year, and then they turned me over on defense, but they made me a defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
Which back in those days became a passive position because of the Houston option, the three-way option, fit, give to the full, go out, keep, or pitch. So you had to play passive. Because if you had the ball, I'm coming to get you. That was that attack mentality that I had in my spirit, okay? Wherever the ball is, I'm going for it. So I had to learn to back off. I started my sophomore year as a defensive end.
Mm-hmm.
And we never thought about it until recently as we're going through a revisit of those times, that on the defense, there was three of us.
Mm-hmm. I
was a defensive end. Clarence Bucky McGill was a defensive end, and Dwayne Spool Walker was was a defensive back.
Mm-hmm.
Not knowing that Twofer Rule.
Right.
Okay. So then on offense, it was my buddy Greg, my roommate. He was a wingback, tailback, wide receiver. He was all around. Mm-hmm. And Al Newton was the fullback.
Right.
And you had John Godbolt, who was another running back. But there was only two of them starting over there.
Mm.
Okay.
Gotcha.
We went to play Kansas. And after the Kansas guy, what happened was the guy got wide of me. But I did run him down.
Mm-hmm.
They pulled me out the game.
And
then they put this guy, he was from Connecticut as well. They put him in my position, in the position I played. That speaks for itself. But I didn't find out till later he had a sponsor.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So you know what happens with that. Hey, you ain't playing my guy. Hey, I'm not going to contribute. So, money talks and everything else is a game. Okay. So, that I was the first one to get benched as a starter.
Mm-hmm.
We wound up going to that year. We went to Wisconsin. First time in the history of the Syracuse program, there were three brothers in the backfield. They scored 6 touchdowns, 2 apiece. We ran Wisconsin out of their own park, okay?
Mm-hmm.
After that game, we were out, you win, you celebrate. Okay, right. So, we waiting to load up, and so we having a good time. And the coach walked by him and made the comment, enjoy yourself now because it's a short walk from the parlor to the outhouse. You can see the oxygen just leave John's body because he knew what that meant. He was never going to play again.
Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious.
So those are just some of the samples of things that was transpiring that had a cause and effect.
Got you. Now, of course, plenty of talk about, there's the Syracuse 8 or some actually in Wikipedia, for example, says the Syracuse 9. Can you kind of give us a kind of a definitive, whether it's a Syracuse 8 or Syracuse 9? Because, there's different things out there.
No, and that's the problem. Okay, that is a problem. What was stated, okay? If anybody wants to do their research, okay, that 8 of us walked off the field in 1970. 8 of us, okay? The person that they're describing in there was no longer on the team, okay? So, but he was there when this was going on. He was along with the 5 other players, the guys ahead of us, because at that point in time in 69, he was 1 freshman, 2 sophomores. That was me and Greg, and then 5 juniors at that point that were playing. So when 1970 came, there were 10 black ball players. 2 decided to go back. And everyone who participated in this boycott made their decision on their own. Each person decided on personally what they wanted to do. As I said, 2 of those players went back. And we had no issue with that. Okay. They had their reasons, and in turn, we went along. Well, so the number is 8. One of the guys in front of us felt that this player should be brought in as part of the boycott. To be truthful, I didn't agree with that. Okay, so, but I'm outnumbered. So they used that as saying that there were 9, but in factual facts, there was only 8. That's why it's called the Syracuse 8.
Right.
If we believed that it was 9, we would have changed the number to 9. But the number has been the Syracuse 8 since it happened. And all documents, historical or whatever, will show you the 8 names of the 8 ball players that walked off the field.
Right.
To be a supporter, yeah, that's all well and good. But that doesn't, we had a lot of supporters. So if we had, if supporter was one of the ways that you can incorporate yourself as part of the Syracuse 8, then we would be probably Syracuse 2000. Okay? So that what I'm trying to say is it was stated that, they got it wrong. Nobody got it wrong, because the actual names of the 8 players are the only names that show up through that historical time period. So, excuse me, 9 is not realistic.
Got you. Yeah. So how do you, your legacy, what can you say about the legacy today when it comes to knowing your rights and fighting for your rights, and what you all did back in that time? Now, for those that aren't aware, 1970, you all didn't play a single game, correct?
Right. We boycotted the entire season.
Right. I just want to make sure so everyone knows, there's no confusion, anything like that. What do you say to those about what do you think is your legacy in terms of knowing your rights in sports and kind of setting that foundation for a guy like a Colin Kaepernick to come after and know his rights and stand for his rights as well? Or
I think it's if you look at it at the time period, 1970 is 2 years after Martin was assassinated. Didn't see much right there, but that was there. Okay. So, we were new somewhat, when I boycotted in 1970, I was 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So not having the intellect in relationship to the legal environments, we just followed certain people that we used or became advisors to us on the process. Okay. Um, I mean, if I knew what I know today, they would have been in court. But
Yeah.
we didn't have that insight, nor did we have that support, because there was no way we could afford to challenge a university or even the NCAA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because what would it have accomplished if we had to try that? So, excuse me, we didn't have the foresight. We relied on others to, help navigate us through the process. I mean, one of the best things that came of it, we didn't lose our scholarships. That was one of the attempts as well. But I think they were advised that it may look bad if you take their scholarships, and so you're gonna put the full hammer on them, when in reality, what we were talking about, which is mostly confusing by others, we wasn't doing it just for ourselves. If you look at the demands that we made, we asked for better medical treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's for everybody. That ain't just for us. But let's put it this way: we didn't trust the medical treatment. Okay.
I hear you there.
Okay. Better academic support. If I go to a away game, come in, come back, I may miss Friday's classes.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to make that up. So, which is normal now, you have academic advisors. Well, the white ball players had academic advisors. We had student advisors. I had to find somebody that was in my class.
Wow.
Okay.
Huh.
Okay. So then you look at merit based on the best players. Everybody can see. You can start the week out. You have a depth chart 1, 2, 3. If you won 2, if it's a away game, you're most likely gonna go. If you're number 3, you ain't making the trip.
Mm-hmm.
Well, depending on what mood they were in during that week, they would in turn, let's say, the number 2 player, they wasn't feeling it. They drop them to 3. So when you go look for the travel squad, they put the list on the board to see if you're traveling. You could have been practicing in number 2 all week and go read. Now you're in number 3.
Mm.
So there were monopolies in relationship to how they played that game based on whether or not you was on the travel squad.
Gotcha. Wow. It's a lot that went on and led up to everything that happened. And I just want to applaud all of you. I just want to say the names. It'd be Greg Allen, be Richard Bulls, correct?
Right.
Be Dana Harrell,
Right.
John Gobble,
Right.
you.
Yep.
We've got Bucky McGill.
Right.
And at that time, it was Al Newton. Now it's
Right.
A. Alif Muhammad.
Right. Right.
Okay. So,
Right.
yeah, I just want to pay respect to all of you. I mean,
did you get Greg Allen in there?
What's that?
Greg Allen.
Greg Allen. I did put Greg Allen in there.
Okay. All right. I'm a little slow.
No, you're good. But I just want to, pay respects to you all for standing up for your rights and doing what you felt needed to be done, no matter what the consequences would be. And I just want to, definitely, show respect to y'all and thank you for coming on. But of course, I don't want to end with, just talking about everything there. I'd like to, put a little fun into the end of the show.
Okay.
And I got a game, and I've got 2 choices for you.
Okay.
You got to pick one. Now, I did put today's NFL. I did put a couple of today's NFL players in one of them, but we're gonna go with. I kind of took it a little back with two of the questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. We've got Ernie Davis or Jim Brown.
Jim Brown.
Jim Brown. I was pretty sure you were gonna pick Jim Brown. Now I've got another one for you, and these two gentlemen definitely fought a lot for rights and be the rights to be treated fairly and equally. That'd be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bill Russell. So which one there?
I would go with Bill Russell.
Yeah, Bill Russell did a lot of things, and he took a
bunch of things.
Yeah,
yes,
he definitely did. He definitely was a powerful on the court and off the court as well as a game changer. Being
I mean,
in the NBA.
Yeah, they both were great, but I think Bill was the ambassador because Bill stood his ground.
Yes, he did.
And he didn't flicker at any given point in time. So yeah, I'll give it to the old man. I'm an old man too, but I'll give it to the elder. Let me put it like that, the elder. Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go a little bit newer on these two.
Okay.
I've got quarterbacks. I've got Dak Prescott or Lamar Jackson.
I would go with Lamar.
Lamar, yeah, definitely he's got the wheels, and he
got that's where I'm going with the wheel. Yeah, he's got the wheels. Yep.
All right, and running backs. Both of these guys play in the AFC South. And both of them are two of the top rushers over the last couple of years. That'd be the Tennessee Titans, Derrick Henry, or the Indianapolis Colts, Jonathan Taylor.
I would go with Henry.
Henry, yeah. When you see that big man running at you, oh boy.
hey, at some point you start praying, you know.
Well, I definitely enjoyed hearing, definitely the things that you provide, the information it provided, the depth you provided about all that went on at Syracuse during your time there and what led to the stand of the Syracuse 8. I just appreciate you coming on, and I would love to for you to let everyone know where they can find you at, if you're on social media, or what other things you have working on or in the works currently. Well,
I'm on Facebook. The other ones I don't even touch. Instagram, no, I ain't got it. I'm a little too far down the road to even think about doing that. So, but I do. We do have an LLC, the Syracuse 8 LLC, and you can contact us or find other additional information about us on Syracuse8.com. And what we have been doing is speaking engagements. So if you would like us to come and speak to any group or any association, you can contact us. Any one of us at the Syracuse 8 LLC. That would be myself, Greg Allen, and Alif Mohammed. Would be the contacts for the LLC, and so we've been going on tour. We just was out at the University of the Pacific about a month ago doing a speaking engagement out there. It looked like we may be going back to California as well, because we might be getting another invite. And I've done some blogs and some Zoom calls as well. So we'll fall into any medium that's needed or that they're looking for to give us opportunity to tell the story. And let me just say one other thing, Mike. I forgot to say when we talked about the 4 demands. I talked about 3 of them, but the 4th one was the one that blew everything out of the water: diversifying the coaching staff. That's when it got black and white.
Right.
Okay. At that point in time, since 1898, there was never a black coach at Syracuse.
Wow.
So one of the things that we tried to bring forth was we need someone that we can talk to, that can communicate our concerns, because telling them, we're not a boy or any other derogatory names, excuse me, they choose to use was unacceptable. But, you can say it, but they look at you like you crazy. So that was, I think, the piece that took it and blew everything out of the water, because now that became Pacific. Everything else was general.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that's what they exploded over. And then that's when it became a black and white issue. But let me just say this to you. There was a 38-page report written in December of that year. In the end, the report stated we were right. Racism exists and not worthy of an institution within the athletic department of Syracuse University. So we were right, but we still got punished. We got blackballed by the NFL because they considered us troublemakers and militants. We were labeled troublemakers and militants in them days. In the late 60s, early 70s. If you ain't towing the line, then you got to be an outsider and you got to be the bad guy. And my roommate Greg went to Canada to play ball, and we laugh at it today, even though it wasn't funny, that they went out of the country and got him. They got him released from the CFL.
Wow.
And we wound up in Hartford together, playing semi-pro. Figured that we could, maybe backdoor our way into the NFL. But the day before Greg was going to report to Hartford, the coach on the Hartford Knights told me that he wanted to see me the next day after practice, and somebody I knew was coming into town. I had no clue who that was. The next day, wound up being my roommate. And he met with us after that practice. And he stated to us, he said, I'm just going to be straight with you guys. Ain't no need of you trying to go to the next level because you've been blackballed. They consider you militants and troublemakers, and they're not going to allow you to come up there and disrupt the NFL. That's when I knew it was over. And it was time to move on with my life relative that, that was a dream deferred. So I had to go and now make a life for myself and my family, and in turn continue the fight. And that's what I did, in my career, in my banking career. I had to explain to them that slavery was over with. And I walked out of the door as a banker when I had done what no one else had done in the bank as an AVP, and I was the first black to ever run the head office of this bank in its 200-year history.
Wow!
And then in turn, they couldn't pass audits in the head office. Now all your branches, your head office can't pass an audit. You got a problem. That's what I was brought in to fix. I fixed it. And then once it was done, audit came in and they passed. They completely freaked out. What they gonna do with me now that I've done what nobody else could do? All those who came before me failed, went to the next assignment as VPs. I came in and succeeded and left as an AVP. So I didn't get the title. I didn't care about that. But you promised me compensation, and now they hemmed and hawed about the compensation. It wasn't shortly. It was probably, I want to say, maybe 6 months later, I walked out. And I went to my next career in the state of Connecticut, where I was for 29 years working on economic development. And then for my last 19 years, I was helping minority and women-owned businesses access capital. But then again, I had to deal with the environments of, knowing people knew a lot. I knew a lot of bankers, so they knew me. But one thing I always told them was, one thing that you did that you didn't realize you did, you made me understand how you function. And with that, that's how I could help people of color and women navigate the system to their advantage. They didn't like that either, but I didn't really care. So I became also, so I did that for 19 years. And I also was a commissioner on the Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities. The Governor Rennell, had me appointed. I got appointed to that position. I had to go in front of the legislature and get appointed. I got appointed to that, but I didn't realize until I was there the game they wanted to play.
Mm-hmm.
The game they wanted to play was they had an executive director, the head of the human rights, who was black. The goal was for me to come in and fire him. And I caught on to that. And so I wouldn't do it. Because what he was trying to do was what they needed. But they didn't want the system to work. So I was in that position for a year. And when you get appointed for 4 years, okay? So when I didn't do what they wanted to do, they took me away the chair, the chair position, and gave it to somebody else. That's when so I've been playing games for a whole lot of time in a whole lot of different places. But one thing I didn't lose is my principles.
I hear you.
Very important to me, okay? If you don't believe in your principles, then don't believe in anything, because you can go for anything. So, and I say that in reality, Syracuse University prepared me for that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Because that's where corporate America is. Most people don't want to believe that. That's where it comes from. It comes from your colleges and universities. Okay. And so fighting a system as big as a university and still standing, wherever room I went into, they knew I was in the room. Because you're not going to just, and I'll end with this here. One thing that one of my bosses said to me that he came to recognize. And he said, John, the only thing you're looking for is respect. I said, that's what anybody looks for.
Right.
Okay, is respect. So if you feel as though you can't respect me, then that's all well and good, because I'll keep on stepping. And I've run into incidents where I had to let people know that where their heads wasn't acceptable.
Right.
And so, and if you don't want to know, don't ask. A lot of people ask, but they didn't like what they heard either. So, like I said, I keep it real. Keep it real.
It's the only way to keep it, right?
Yes, it. Absolutely. Right. Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Well, I definitely want to thank you again for coming on and dropping your wisdom and talking about, giving us context of, the Syracuse 8, and then also your life after football as well. I want to thank everyone that tuned in. Mr. John Lobon, I will say this. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, everyone listening and tuning in. You've been watching and listening to Touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton. We're out.